Good afternoon, everybody. I hope you're well. This video is covering quite a hot topic now, and I told a client I would do this during the week. And many of my clients have issues with this topic, which I'll just tell you, it's gallbladder. It's the gallbladder. And I told her I would do this as kind of a compilation because I've done so many posts and I've done a few podcasts on the gallbladder and improving bile flow and even supporting the liver and the pancreas that when I was telling her, hey, go check out this post or go listen to this podcast or whatever, I noticed it was a lot for her to take in, so I was kind of like, maybe I'll just do a little summary video that will give people the main points and actionable bits that they can do. So this girl still has her gallbladder. So in this video, we're going to kind of look at both ends of the spectrum. So those people that don't have their gallbladder, and then those that still do but might be having some issues with their gallbladder. So I suppose it's almost, I mean, at this stage, there's almost a ratio of more people not having their gallbladder than there is of people with their gallbladder. It's a very popular surgery. So a lot of my clients don't have a gallbladder. And there's definitely a trend happening. Anyway, I digress. So a lot of my clients don't have a gallbladder. So then we're monitoring how to support their body in breaking down fats and digesting fats and making sure there's no malnutrition going on there. And if they wanted to try a higher fat diet, would that be safe and how would we do it? And so on and so on. So if one doesn't have their gallbladder, it's not always recommendable to follow a high fat diet, but it can be done. We're always looking at again, supporting the bile flow. So understanding that when you do have a gallbladder and you consume fats, the fats come into your body, the enzymes signal to your pancreas, hey, release some bile. We're going to need this bile to break down our fats and kind of emulsify them and make sure that they're going to the right places and we're getting the proper nutrition out of them. And that's what the bile does. And the gallbladder is like your storage sack for the bile. So the liver produces bile and then the majority of it stays into the gallbladder so that you have like a reserve of it so you can break down your fats as they come in. Now, if you don't have a gallbladder, then you constantly just have this trickle of bile from the liver the majority of the time. And obviously the concentration is not there and you don't have as much of it because you don't have this reserve anymore. But if you do still have your reserve, that's not to say you can't have issues, especially this day and age and how our food is processed and the way we eat and everything. There seems to be more issues than not with gallbladders and breaking down fats. So when we have our gallbladder removed, we're more conscious that we should not be maybe consuming as much fat and also supporting our liver in the breakdown of fats. So what that means is we can use certain protocols and practices to improve the digestion and the breakdown of the fats and improve how our liver is producing bile, and if it's good quality bile, has it got a good flow to it, is it going to do the job effectively. And when we look at doing stuff like that, we're looking at one, sending signals to our body. So saying, hey, here, food is coming now. You need to prepare to break this down effectively and efficiently. And we can do that by stimulating what's called the vagus nerve. Well, one of my favorite ways to do it is by stimulating the vagus nerve. So the vagus nerve is the nerve that runs from your tongue pretty much to your butt. And when you stimulate it on your tongue's end, you're saying, hey, there's food coming in now. Let's get those stomach acids working. Let's get the blood flowing. Let's get the digestive enzymes going because food is coming in here at any second now. And if we do that really smart with the correct foods, then we can also kind of upregulate our production of bile as well from the liver so that we're well equipped to break down and digest our foods and therefore assimilate all our nutrients properly and not have any kind of negative side effects happen. So negative side effects, of course, being like malnutrition would be obviously one. If you're not breaking down your foods properly, there's going to be that issue of malnutrition or nutrient deficiencies. If you're not breaking down your your fats and your cholesterol effectively, then there's going to be that issue of creating crystals or gallstones as well in your body. And then there's also the issue of leaky gut too, and that leading to autoimmune disease. So it's very, very important that we're breaking down our foods properly. So to keep that kind of stomach acid and the digestive enzymes playing in our favor and keep some good blood flow going through our digestion, some of the things I teach would be that we would have some sort of bitters or sour or tart foods or liquids introduced into our body or introduced into our mouth, stimulating the vagus nerve maybe 15, maybe 30 minutes before we eat. So this is if I see someone that may have digestive issues, or they maybe have what I think might be gallbladder issues as well, if they're giving away all those symptoms. So what we could do is, of course, apple cider vinegar is an awesome one, like taking just a small tablespoon of apple cider vinegar before eating. And I know a few of you are going to say, oh, she says that's so blasé. It's not a big deal for me, but you can do apple cider vinegar in warm water. When we add these bitters or sours or tart foods to something warm or to a warm fluid, it makes them more effective. So that's signaling to your stomach, your digestive system, hey, food's coming in now. We got to be at the top of our game to break it down. So you're looking at your apple cider vinegar, and other vinegars will work too. Lemons, limes, other bitters, they'll all activate the vagus nerve and stimulate that digestion and to get everything going. Even just warm water, even warm water with a bit of salt will work too. Or I've said to other clients, it's where the concept of French onion soup comes from as well, that having some sort of soup, a pho, miso, a bone broth before a meal, just a small amount, is going to stimulate that digestion and get everything kind of warmed up and ready to roll. We also can use, what I really like is choleritic herbs or cholagogues. So these are herbs that have been shown to support digestion and support bile salt production and improve the flow of bile as well. So even if you've had your gallbladder removed, adding in these herbs and spices to your diet can be very effective and support your liver and improve the production of that bile, and as well how well it flows, which is important because people don't take that into consideration. Your bile can either flow very well and smooth and do what it's supposed to, or it can be gluggy and sluggish and back up and get clogged. And this is where we see the issues with those crystals, so bile crystals, so shards of bile like glass cutting you on the inside, or gallstones the bigger they get. So adding in your choleritic herbs or your cholagogues can be very, very helpful in that sense. So some of these are going to be your dandelion root and dandelion leaf, very effective. Chamomile, St. John's wort can work well here. Rosemary, one of my favorites for many reasons, but it's a very effective choleritic herb. Turmeric, coriander, chilies, all your spices, black pepper, turmeric, onion if you don't have an issue with onion, because remember, onion is a FODMAP food, so it can cause problems. Peppermint, awesome. Artichoke, these are all great for supporting the liver and improving the digestion. These are really, really good herbs and so easy to get your hands on. And a lot of them you can get in tea form and be sipping on them in the evening or between meals to constantly support the liver and the pancreas and the gallbladder if you still have it, and everything like that. So even without your gallbladder, You could theoretically, and it's very individual, of course, do a higher fat diet. Maybe try a ketogenic diet. If you are adding in all these bitters and tart, sour foods, warm liquids that are going to aid in digestion, and your choleritic herbs as well, and watch your fat sources where they're coming from. A lot of the time the saturated fats from animal products are harder to digest than those from, say, coconut or avocado or olive oil. They can be easier for us to break down. So those monounsaturated fats are going to kind of be your preferred fats if you have gallbladder issues, definitely. If you still have your gallbladder and you're noticing issues and you're getting some of those symptoms, so what would be the symptoms or signs that you have gallbladder issues? Well, straight off the bat, digestive issues after you eat certain fats, so runny, yellowy, blondie poop that floats a lot. That's going to show that you're not breaking down your fats. Some diarrhea issues going on there, bloating, spasms in around the gut, so pain in and around your right side under your ribs where the gallbladder would sit, pains, stabbing pains there, pains in between your shoulder blades, and also more so towards the right, can signal that there's gallbladder issues there too. Really having to, if you have to wipe your butt a lot, that can signal, like, a lot of times to get clean, so like anything over 5 wipes, that can signal that maybe you're not breaking down your fats properly. If there is, as they say, skid marks on the toilet, I know, very crude, but I don't know how else to describe it, that could signal that you're not breaking down your fats properly at all. So these are all kind of symptoms that there may be a gallbladder issue. Again, those spasms, like sharp pains in around the gut and across the digestive tract, where you might have shards or crystals and they're like glass cutting into you, and sometimes these won't show up on an ultrasound as well. If they're so small, they may not show up, so looking at the symptom picture is going to be important there. But then when we look at bile and the gallbladder, and you still have your gallbladder, but you think there might be something going on there, we're going to be looking at supporting that bile flow even more, making sure that it's nice and thin and it flows well. So what usually causes us to have gluggy, clotted, slow-moving bile? Well, there's 2 main causes of that. Insulin and estrogen. So insulin resistance and estrogen dominance in the body generally both go hand in hand with obesity or someone that's overweight or doesn't have a good diet. These are all going to cause the bile to be gluggy or clunky or not flow well, so sticky and gooey. The same way they would do with your blood is the same way they'll affect the bile. So one, getting on a good nutritional protocol, focusing on improving insulin resistance and losing some fat and detoxing estrogen properly are going to be important for not only that end of things and improving the health on that end of things, but also for supporting that bile and how it's produced and how it flows, and supporting the liver. So remember that your estrogen and your insulin there, they're going to be slowing down and making that bile more gluggy and thick and gross. We don't want that, because that's going to be a main player, especially as things start to back up in the bile ducts and even around the pancreas. There can be issues there. So poor bile flow, if it does back up in the bile ducts, it is going to then start to accumulate, and then cause any cholesterol that gets stuck there to crystallize, and that's where we get those pains, and then we get inflammation, and that is your gallstones, and then these gallstones then can eventually lead to pancreatitis, because if they back up too much, they're going to stop the pancreas from producing enzymes. And then if the pancreas can't produce the enzymes, then they're not going to get into the small intestines. And then, as they say, you're literally going to have a shit show going on. So we want to, as always, support everything, support the whole body. But in saying that, kind of like the choleretic herbs and activating the vagus nerve, like we've already discussed, if you don't have a gallbladder, we can still do a lot of this if you do have the gallbladder. They're still going to help an awful lot. So all your choleretic herbs there, your dandelion, your St. John's wort, your peppermint, your artichoke, your coriander, turmeric, your peppers, turmeric. Did I already say turmeric? Anyway, licorice. We can then start to look at, if you still have your gallbladder and you think there may be issues there, we can look at along with implementing, and this is what I encourage my clients to do, is if they'll do it, is we'll have like a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar in like 100 to 200 mils of warm water 15 minutes before each meal. So that's going to help stimulate bile production, digestive enzymes, and of course the digestion, getting everything ready and going to break down the foods properly. We can also look at some other stuff like beetroot powder can be very helpful for the digestion and improving blood flow, helping with circulation. So you can look at a beetroot powder. We can look at bile salts, of course, digestive enzymes in supplement form. Phosphatidylcholine can be very helpful. You can also get phosphorus drops, and phosphorus drops, they'll help break down those crystals and the bile salts as well. Then another one is this herb, not well known, but I really like it. It's called fringe tree, and you can get it in a tincture. You probably can get it in some sort of tea form, but I haven't came across it yet. And the tincture is generally derived from the bark of the tree. So fringe tree, this is a herb that can help thin out bile flow, especially if you've already started like some sort of a nutritional protocol or weight loss campaign where your body is already starting to change. Well, adding in fringe tree can just kind of help with the bile flow a little bit quicker, so it can help thin out the bile flow and also smooth out the sharp edges around the crystals. So fringe tree tincture, very helpful. That's something you could look at. And then after we've done all that, we're going to be very aware that we're staying active to help with the circulation, help with blood flow all the time is very, very important, especially for supporting the liver. So circulation is one of our priorities, and we see a lot of circulation issues with women nowadays because of the lifestyle we lead, being sedentary, toxic exposure, thyroid issues, slower metabolism, and all. So we want to keep that kind of at the forefront of our mind. And then we want to be kind of a bit more aware, just putting some awareness around our food choices, especially our fat consumption, sticking with smaller amounts of fat at meals, and maybe not so much the animal fats, but the likes of coconut oil, that's easier to break down. Our other monounsaturated fats, our avocados, our nuts and seeds, so they can be a little bit easier. So being aware of all this. So I suppose everything that I've recommended here you can do on both ends of the spectrum. Whether you've lost your gallbladder or whether you're experiencing gallbladder issues now, you have a gallbladder. There's something else, and I came across a study a few weeks ago when I was researching about the gallbladder, autoimmune disease. Obviously, there's a big correlation between gallbladder issues and autoimmune disease because with the autoimmune disease, we can see the antibodies. We can see an increase in abnormal antibodies in the body with an autoimmune disease, and these can attack the body, and also this attack can be causing scar tissue or damaging the bile ducts as well. And of course, if you have autoimmune disease, chances are you have leaky gut. If you have leaky gut, then you're not breaking down your foods properly, your digestion's not properly, all those processes we just spoke about, they're not working properly at all. So a lot to take into consideration here, but very, very doable stuff, like very stuff that you can get in your local store, stuff you can do by yourself, and then some of the stuff that maybe you'll have to kind of go to maybe Amazon or a specialized health store for, the likes of your bile salts, or even phosphorus drops, or your phosphatidylcholine, taurine, stuff like that. You might have to go to a more specialized store, Amazon, or wherever you shop, to get stuff like that. But otherwise, the rest is very doable. But there's a lot of awareness and consciousness being involved in supporting the gallbladder. And look, if you say, I haven't got my gallbladder, or I'm just going to get it removed, remember, there's going to be a ripple effect there. You can't just remove a body part and expect there not to be repercussions to that. So you remove the gallbladder, you're going to be putting a lot more stress there on the liver for a start. You got to think of this. You've got a lot more stress happening there in the digestion. And you're not so let's just say you don't have an autoimmune disease, you don't have leaky gut, then you get your gallbladder removed, you're not breaking down foods properly anymore. Now we're going to have issues, foods going through the gut, that's going to start damaging the gut. That may lead to leaky gut, that may lead to autoimmune disease. If you're not breaking down your fats properly, what do we know about cholesterol? We build up cholesterol, we get fatty liver, we get fat and plaque in the arteries, we get then coronary issues, cardiovascular health starts to suffer, even right up to the brain. We've got higher instances of people with no gallbladder becoming obese, diabetes, Alzheimer's. Like there's a ripple effect. I'm always saying that the body is one whole system. You can't just address one part and not think about everything else. So I hope this video, a little bit longer, I'm so sorry about that, has summarized the gallbladder, what you can do to support it on both ends, if you have it removed or if you still have it. I really, really hope this helps. As always, if you have any questions for me, you can find me ShamainsModelHealth.com or on Facebook, Shemaine's Model Health, but you probably already know where I am because you're watching my videos. Anyway, enjoy the rest of your day, and stay safe. Okay.